If you are a man over 35 who has gained belly fat even though your diet and exercise habits have not changed, this video will explain why. This is not about willpower, and it is not because you are lazy. What you are experiencing is a metabolic shift that most men are never told about. And once you understand it, many things that previously felt confusing start to make sense. Most men receive the same advice year after year. Eat less, move more, and be more disciplined. This advice sounds logical, and on the surface it appears scientific, because calories do matter. But if this advice truly worked in the long term, men would not suddenly struggle with belly fat after decades of similar habits. The reason this advice fails is not because men stop trying. It fails because it ignores how metabolism actually changes with age. The real issue is not calories. The real issue is how your body processes energy after the age of 35. And that process is called metabolism. Metabolism is often described as how fast you burn calories, but that description is incomplete. Metabolism is better understood as how your body decides whether to store energy or release it. And this decision happens continuously, not just when you eat. To understand why belly fat increases, you need to understand how this decision is made. The body does not randomly store fat. It responds to hormonal signals, and the most important of these signals is insulin. Insulin exists for a good reason. Its job is to help move energy from the bloodstream into cells so that it can be used or stored safely. Without insulin, blood sugar would rise to dangerous levels. In younger, metabolically healthy men, insulin works efficiently. After a meal, insulin rises briefly, energy is stored where it belongs, and then insulin levels fall again. When insulin falls, the body can access stored energy, including stored fat. This flexibility allows the body to switch smoothly between storing energy and burning energy. Over time, however, many men gradually develop insulin resistance. This does not happen overnight, and it does not mean insulin disappears. Instead, insulin remains present, but the cells become less responsive to it. The body compensates by producing more insulin in an attempt to get the same job done. This compensation works for a while, but it comes at a cost. When insulin levels remain elevated more often than they should, the body receives a constant signal to store energy. At the same time, access to stored fat becomes restricted. This means that even if calorie intake is reduced, the body struggles to release fat efficiently. Energy becomes trapped in storage, and the body begins to operate in a less flexible, less efficient way. This is why two men can eat similar meals and have very different outcomes. One man maintains his weight, while the other slowly gains fat, particularly around the abdomen. The difference is not effort. The difference is how their metabolism responds to insulin. Calories still matter, but they are filtered through a hormonal system that determines where those calories go. As insulin resistance develops, fat accumulation tends to shift toward the abdominal area. This type of fat is known as visceral fat. Visceral fat is different from the fat you can pinch under the skin. It surrounds internal organs and is metabolically active, meaning it actively sends signals throughout the body. These signals promote inflammation and further worsen insulin resistance. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle. As visceral fat increases, insulin resistance worsens. As insulin resistance worsens, fat storage becomes more likely. This is why belly fat often feels stubborn and resistant to effort, even in men who exercise regularly and eat reasonably well. This also explains why calorie counting often stops working after a certain point. You can reduce calories, but if insulin levels remain elevated, fat remains locked in storage. The body responds by conserving energy. Fatigue increases, hunger increases, and progress slows. This is not a lack of discipline. It is a predictable biological response. This is also why many men feel tired after meals, experience afternoon energy crashes, or notice that recovery from exercise becomes more difficult. Energy is present, but it is not easily accessible. The body is storing rather than releasing, and this mismatch creates frustration. One of the most important points to understand is that insulin resistance develops long before diabetes. It often begins years before blood sugar levels appear abnormal, and years before doctors raise concern. During this time, routine blood tests frequently look normal. A man may be told that everything is fine, even though his metabolism is already shifting toward fat storage and energy inefficiency. Because this process is gradual, it is often blamed on aging. Men are told that slowing down, gaining weight, and feeling tired are simply part of getting older. But aging itself is not the root cause. The underlying issue is a gradual loss of metabolic flexibility. The body becomes less able to switch efficiently between storing energy and burning energy. And this loss of flexibility is what drives many of the changes men notice after 35. Understanding this distinction is important. If the problem were simply age, there would be little that could be done. But because the problem is metabolic, it can be understood, measured, and addressed. The first step is recognizing that belly fat is a signal, not a personal failure. So, if you are a man over 35 gaining belly fat despite real effort, it is important to understand this clearly. Your body is not broken, and you are not failing. You are experiencing a predictable metabolic shift that requires understanding rather than punishment. On this channel, I explain metabolism using medical science. In future videos, we will build on what was explained here and look more closely at why common health advice fails men specifically, how insulin resistance develops in everyday life, and why focusing only on calories misses the real drivers of metabolic health. This video is for educational purposes only. This is not medical advice. Always consult your physician.